You're listening to Witch Wednesdays, a semi-weekly podcast source for all things witchcraft in the modern world. Join your host, Steph, on Wednesday mornings to chat about seasons, Sabbats, and all new witchcraft topics to help you make your life more magical. Welcome back to Witch Wednesdays. I'm Steph, and I have a very fun, unique guest here with me today. So I am going to turn it over so she can introduce herself, let you know where you can find her online, and then we were going to jump into our topic.
Oh, hi, my name's Kashena Sampson. I'm a musician, and you can find me at kashenasampson.com is my website. My Instagram is at Kashena Sampson. That's kind of my main social media.
Fantastic. I am so excited to have you here today and to chat about this topic because I don't really have too many musicians that also have a very witchy background, witchcraft focus. So I am really excited, and I'm excited for you to have a new album coming out. I think this episode will be out either right before or right after October 3rd. So congratulations. That's
Oh,
very exciting
awesome.
that your new album is
Oh,
going to be out. Wonderful.
yes. Thank you.
Are you excited or terrified to introduce it to the world?
I I am excited. It's been like 2 years in the making, or maybe even a little more that I've been kind of sitting on this album. I finished recording it, 2 years ago in June.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So for listeners who are just about to go check out your work, what is your new album titled and what can they kind of expect from the sound?
My new album is called Ghost of Me, and it's kind of a psychedelic rock, indie rock kind of a vibe.
Oh,
Dark, dark. A lot of songs about change and grief, really, but in an up tempo kind of way.
I mean, you're really speaking to my audience with that one, and also I feel like that's perfect timing coming into like dark half of the year and Samhain season and heading into all of that.
Yes, that's kind of why I chose the release date for October.
That's perfect.
Is
I
my
mean,
favorite
sounds
time
like
of
it'll be exactly the right timing for that.
Yes, like let's get in the mood.
So, what was your background like to lead you into sort of a path of like witchcraft and then pulling that inspiration into your songs?
Well, I grew up in a very, I would say, more like spiritual family. No one in my family necessarily practiced witchcraft, but it was always there in a way. Like my mom would always, it was almost like she was casting spells without even realizing it. I just remember being, and I always had that vision and that feeling of just like magic is real, in my imagination and my thoughts. Uh, I guess my first interaction was I remember being very young and scared of the dark, and my mom would always come in and spray her Bach flower remedies over me, almost like it was a potion, and be like, "This is what's going to
Oh,
put you to sleep." And it worked because I believed it. I think the main part of it is actually believing. Um, and
absolutely.
from there, I my first job was at a metaphysical store called the Psychic Eye in Las Vegas, and always around me, I had a lot of elders that were into tarot reading, and I always had readings growing up, and just kind of like a knowing. Like I would always have this knowing, and I just held on to that. And when I was in my early 20s, I ended up getting sober, and that's kind of where my spiritual practice started to take off a little more, because you got to lean into something else besides drugs and alcohol, to
Yeah.
get you through. And yeah, that's where it all began.
There's a ton of shadow work involved in getting sober.
Yes, a ton. And at this point, I've been sober 19 years. So I
Wow,
got sober.
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, at 22 is when I got sober, and so much shadow work in that 19 years of just uncovering and letting go of who I am not to find out who I am. And
Yes.
the magic in that and the power in that alone of knowing your truth. Um, and this is where this album stems from for sure. I think I've had two previous albums that I love the albums. I was still finding myself and finding my voice at that time. Um, and before I started writing this album, there was a lot of shadow work involved, a lot of letting go of these old beliefs of somebody's going to come and rescue me from my life, and realizing that no, like I'm going to rescue me. It's up to me. And does that,
Yeah.
uh, yeah.
Oh, it sounds like a beautiful and difficult process.
Yes, it was. It was, there's a song on the album called Awakening, and that's kind of the root of it all, of just coming out of a um, very toxic codependent relationship and having like this spiritual awakening from it. And in that process, I thought I was going to die. Like a spiritual awakening, you think is like, oh, that sounds nice. And it's like so far from that feeling. And I remember at the time calling my spiritual advisor and just feeling like I feel like I'm going to die. I feel like my whole body, like I have these like electrons like going off in my head. I could like see them like almost like fireworks. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. And she was like, yeah, this is what is called a spiritual awakening, of
Wow.
realizing that you actually, everything you think you have control over, you don't have control over. And coming to terms with that and realizing what I do have control over is having a relationship with myself and having a spiritual practice. Like that's something I can put my energy towards. And then everything else is just, let's see what happens, you know? Um, so that was kind of the pinpoint of it all, was
Right.
that moment.
I think that a lot of people can relate to that because sometimes it
Mhm.
is, a easy journey towards spiritual awakening and witchcraft, and sometimes like there's a lot of fun aspects to it, but I do think a lot of people it's like it's a much harder discovery and there is a lot of like personal pain and things to work through to come to that point. It's like great at the end once you're like a few years removed
Yeah.
from like the worst of it, but for a lot of people it is really difficult and
Yeah.
scary.
And I think there's layers to it. And I don't even know if there ever is an end. You know what I mean? Like, I think every stage of your life, it's like, oh, now let's look at this. Right. And then you're feeling good for a minute and you've overcome this particular maybe obstacle or old belief. And then all of a sudden, maybe a couple of years later, they're like, oh, and what's this? Let's look at
New
this
one, new one for
now.
you.
And I remember when that happened, I think I was about 13 years sober and I was like, why am I just seeing this now? And I remember my teacher being telling me, well, because this is when you're supposed to see it. Maybe before it would have been too much all at once. Like if I saw everything all at once, that would be, I think, too much for anybody, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, I just, again, it's just layers of like unraveling.
And speaking of the layers and like working through something cycles, your album is set up similar to that, having to do with like lunar cycles and the idea of like the cycle of like letting go and then going through that whole full moon phase and learning things and then rising again, letting go again. It's a
Mhm,
never ending
mhm.
cycle, and I think that's brilliant that you would structure your song and have that come out through your song work.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's just that's the cycle of shadow work. I believe it's like letting go. And what is it that I am wanting to bring in? Who is it that I want to be? What is it that I'm wanting to become? You know what I mean? And letting go through those full moons and then in the new moon, help me to be these things, these are the ideals of what I am working towards.
And I think that's fantastic that it comes around every month. You have multiple times every year
Uh-huh.
to start it
Yeah.
over. You don't have to get it right. The first one
I
there.
don't think anybody ever gets it right.
It's so true. I always feel better, like knowing that. I'm like, okay, this round did not work out exactly how I liked it, but the new moon is coming. There's another new moon.
Yes. Yeah, and there's a lot of that of like, man, it didn't work out the way that I was wanting. And that's a struggle in itself for me, of
It really is.
in the control of like,
Yeah.
oh, it didn't turn out, so kind of forget it all, and I'm not doing any of this anymore. And then all of a sudden coming back to it, be like, no, this is my
Me
practice.
too. It's
I
important.
need this. I need this. But there has been a lot of times in my journey where I've been like, no, I'm just going into my shell.
Yes. No, same here. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what did because if you got sober so young, did
Mhm.
the witchcraft and the spiritual journey come first, or did music come first? And how did you layer those together?
Spiritual journey came
Came
first.
first.
And definitely of getting sober. And because I was just flailing out there, and wasn't, and I've always sang. I've always been a singer, and I grew up in a musical family. Um, but it wasn't till about 5 years sober and kind of like getting out of some of this darkness of like, who am I and what do I want to do? I think I was rebelling so much against my family. I was like, I'm not going to sing. And through doing, again, some shadow work and meditation and asking, the answer came of this is my gift. I was given a gift, and it changes the vibrations of a room. It changes the vibrations in another human being. It's emotions for people to connect to so that they can also heal or identify and not feel so alone. And once I found the answer in that, I kind of took it. I kind of went with that. And it's been a very long journey because it was a couple years after that I started writing my own songs. Um, from once I identified that, it was very interesting because when it came to music, things just happened to just come to me. My first job as a musician was on a cruise ship, and that was a job that I didn't even think about. I just remember I was practicing this song. It's interesting what you sing and what you say, how it manifests. I remember for a year I was learning this song. It was called Luxury Liner. But I think Emmylou Harris sings a version of it. And I was just always singing that and whatever. And then I got this call out of the blue that was a guy I went to college with saying, hey, there's a guy that wants to give you a job on a cruise ship. Can I give him your number?
Wow.
And I was just sitting on my couch in LA at the time, and I was like, "Oh, I've never thought about a cruise ship in my life. Like that's nothing I've ever thought of. I didn't even think about people actually going on them." And I remember the guy called and said, "Hey, we have a girl dropped out. Would you like this job? It starts in September. We are doing rehearsals in Las Vegas. Do you have a place to stay there?" And I said, yeah, my whole family is in Las Vegas. And he said, great. Rehearsals start in 2 weeks. And the day that I left my apartment in LA was the day the lease was up for me to go to Las Vegas to start this new job. It was just the synchronicity of it
Wow.
was just so you
Yeah.
follow that. This is kind of, I was like, am I supposed to do this? I was like, I guess I am. And I was supposed to be for 7 months and I did it for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I just always kind of follow that. And sometimes that intuition or that feeling when things fall into place, that was kind of how I ended up in Nashville as well. Um, Once the job was done on the cruise ship, I was back in Las Vegas and I had met a girl who was writing songs and she needed someone to sing one of her songs for a recording. And so I went into the studio and I did that, and all the musicians there were from Nashville. And it was kind of, we did it, that was that. And then 6 months later, she said, it was all in October too. It's interesting that all these things actually happen in October. That's why I also chose October for my album release, because it is my favorite month. And for me, it's a big month of change where a lot of the times if I'm feeling stuck in my life or I don't know, all of a sudden October comes and I'm just like flying. So again, it was around September. Hey, she asked me to come and sing this song at a performance that they do in Las Vegas called the Musicians Showcase. And when I went to go sing that for her, she was like, I'm thinking about moving to Nashville. I'm going to start looking for roommates. And I said, I'll go. I'll be a roommate. And she was like, really? I was like, yeah, I've never been there. Like, I don't know. It just felt like, yeah, I guess I'm supposed to go to Nashville.
Fish.
Hearing the word, for a couple years, people would be like, Nashville, Nashville, Nashville. And so I just followed that. And that's what I try to do most of the time. And sometimes it works out. Well, most of the time it works out. A lot of the time, it doesn't work out. Because sometimes that voice, I'm not sure. You know what I mean? But I still try to
Right.
follow it.
Oh my gosh, I love that October is such a magic month for you. That's so
It
fun.
really is. I don't know. It's always October because I got here Halloween of 2015 to Nashville.
On
So,
Halloween?
yeah, on Halloween.
That's amazing. I love
I
it.
know.
This has absolutely nothing to do with the topic or your music, but how do you like Nashville? Because I have never been there and I really want to visit, and everybody tells me that I will love it, but I've never been.
I I do love it. What I love most about it is the community. The community here is like nowhere else that I've lived. Um, the people, the artists around me. Um, I've been here for 10 years now. I mean, I think every place has its good and bad, but for me, I really do love the community. I hate the allergies. My allergies here are terrible. So bad.
Oh, that's fantastic. I do hope to visit there one day. I think it would be,
Yes,
fun
definitely.
experience.
Yes. Let me know.
Oh, I absolutely will. I will hit you up for all the recommendations of where to where to check out.
Yes.
So, are you at all like? I mean, with this album or any album, but I feel like maybe with this one, it is more personal to your story. Have you ever experienced like nervousness about putting that out because it is so personal to your story and having people judge that because it's kind of like judging a piece of you?
Yeah,
That would
it's always,
terrify me.
I mean, it is always scary, but I think that's the job of an artist. Um,
That's part of the shadow work, I guess.
Part of the shadow work. Being more vulnerable as I'm putting it out for publicity reasons. That's what's always scary to me. Me writing the songs and then being personal. Like when I'm writing a song and then the tears build up, I'm like, yeah, this is the truth, right? Like this is the truth. I guess we're going with that. That's usually the indicator for me. It's usually the promotion of it that's scary for me. Like
Yeah.
the
This part.
interviews and the talking and like, what are they going to ask? Am I going to share too much? Am I going to overshare? I don't know. But when I'm like singing in the song, I don't know. It's just put together in I've worked on that package
Right. That
to
makes
know
sense.
exactly the point that I'm getting to and what I'm trying to say.
Do you use your own work within like your life and like in your spells and rituals, because I think that that is what a lot of witches who are listening to this podcast are going to listen to, that like during like a ritual or during like a full moon cycle. I feel like they would listen to the songs and make that like part of their ritual. Do you do
Mm.
that, or do you have you like let it out into the world and then you use other music to for your personal tasks?
Oh,
Do you listen to yourself back and like use that?
yes, I do, especially as the song's coming out, right?
Really?
I put them all with the new moon and I play it over and over and over and like, let's get it out there to whoever it's supposed to get to. You know,
Oh,
whoever's supposed to hear this song. And the words themselves come from my own, just my journals and my shadow work. That's where it all comes from. That's where they've all started from. So yes, the songs themselves come from my spell work of like the truths that I'm asking to see.
I that is my number one. I mean, other than just driving around in the car blasting music, because I think that's what millennials do instead of going to
Yes.
therapy. Just blast our emo music in the car while we drive to the
Yes.
store. But other than that, like the time that I am most listening to music or like really resonating with the sounds and the lyrics is during spell work or during a ritual, during a full moon. And
Mhm.
I feel like I I don't know if I could make something for myself and use it like in that way, but to like listen to other people's like words and music, that's
Yeah.
more for me. I don't know that I could like do it
Yeah,
myself.
I don't really sit there as I'm doing it. I think to send it out in a manifesting way, so
Yeah.
that it gets to the people that need to hear it. And that was a lot of my intent as I was creating the album. More thinking in that way of
Yes.
obviously I've written this and there are people that need this. So keeping that in mind as I was recording and reworking songs. Um, because it helps for others to uncover maybe things that they haven't seen or a feeling that they can't pinpoint or don't have a word for. You know, that's what music's
Yeah,
always done for me.
absolutely. That's how I use it too, is like, setting the scene, I think it is.
Mhm.
And I feel that in sampling what, tracks you have released is there's like certain ones that I'm like, I could listen to this during a full moon ritual. Like this feels like just like the sounds, the lyrics just feel like this is a good time for it. So I love an album that goes along like that. Like I could use this. This
Yeah,
works
especially
for
the
me.
full a lot of letting go
Yes.
in the songs, especially the first 2 that have just already come out, Ghost of Me and Rearview Mirror.
Hmm.
The next single coming out is Phases. So yeah, that's really letting go of all that people pleasing.
Maybe, yeah, maybe that's what it is. Just speaking to me at this moment that I'm like, okay, I could definitely use this, like set the scene, get in the right mood, because sometimes life is so wild and busy and that I like sit
Mhm.
down and I'm like, okay, ritual time, I feel like I need to do something, but then like my brain just doesn't turn off and music seems to help with that. Like I'm like,
Yes,
okay,
because
I
it's
can,
words that you're focusing on or a feeling
yes,
that you're focusing on. Uh, yeah, instead of just like the busyness of the brain. It's almost like a guided meditation in a way, right?
that's exactly it. Absolutely.
Mhm.
That's what it is. Because otherwise, I am like thinking too many thoughts and I can't focus. Like my mind is just going too fast. And then if I have a song and I have those lyrics, it like tunes everything else out for me.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
And I think a lot of witches listening to this are going to feel the same way.
Oh,
Uh,
I love it.
so I am excited for them, and I'm excited to be able to chat with you like this and like have an artist on, because there's so many different mediums that
Mhm.
you can like practice through and incorporate like into your daily life, into your spirituality, and music is just another form of that. And I feel like people don't think about that as much because they think rituals sometimes are supposed to be silence and it's just you and your thoughts, and I can't do that. It's
Yeah, no, no.
I need the sound, I need the lyrics, and it just like helps me focus like that. So I think it's, a unique album to come out and a unique sound, and somebody with a spiritual witchcraft sort of background like that, I think lends a lot to the music and is going to be really helpful for a lot of people listening.
Oh, I love that. That was the goal for it, you know.
And I think I don't know what are some of the inspirations for that you took for the sounds that you have in this? Because it feels like familiar to me, and I'm like, who is it that I'm thinking of? I mean, your vibes definitely give me Stevie Nicks, but not like in these
Oh
songs.
yeah, well, Stevie's always been my jam, you know.
Our switches.
Growing up,
We
that
love
was like my
Stevie.
first, like Stevie all the
We
way.
all love Stevie.
We all love Stevie.
We all want to be in a coven in the woods with Stevie as our coven leader. We're
Yes.
all yes.
For this album, I really did go back to my like teenage years of a lot of my influences and bands I was listening to at the time. I always do make a playlist of sounds that I'm wanting in the album. And it's not going to come out exactly like that. Of course, it's going to come out with those influences, but with my sound. And I remember on that playlist, I had a lot of The Breeders. I had a lot of Pixies. I had this is everyone I listened to in high school. Beck. I mean, you know what I mean? I think of that was an influence even for the last track on the album, Thick as Thieves. It was like, I want it to sound like Mutations or something. And it does. It's different than that, of course, but those were some of my influences. Sharon Van Etten. I mean, I love all her music. Angel Olsen too was an influence for me in that way. Echo and the Bunnymen, like just some thoughts and more. It was more sounds that like I was driving these guys crazy in the studio. I would be like, make this song sound like, you know, the vampires are have just arrived. And they're like, what does that mean, Kashena? or just to sound like, I want like a deep sound like the ocean, make it sound like the ocean. And they'd be like, what? Because I'm going with more like this feeling. I was trying to explain it to them like that, and they were like, "You need to find other words to help explain what you're trying to do." So for me, finding songs that were like that gives me that feeling. How do we incorporate it? Even if it's just a beat or a rhythm, or I like how the guitars sound here. So those were kind of the influences for that. And it's interesting because also with the way that I sing, I do have a very big voice. Um, and I like to use my voice in that way. And a lot of some of the influences that I have, it's not centered around the vocal. And I do tend to keep my music centered around my vocals.
Oh.
Because I feel like there's magic in that.
Yeah, there absolutely is. I think that's like the witchiest part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And I think that would be like one of the hardest parts is like explaining to other people what it is, like the feeling that
What's
you're
in
going
my
for.
brain?
Yeah, like you know it and you hear it, but it's like so hard to put that into words.
And I'm so grateful for my guitarist because he's been playing with me for 10 years and we've gone on the road together and everything. So he can understand more what I'm trying to get at than some others. And there are some songs, you know, we had to record multiple times because it just wasn't the right direction. And I'd say, let's try again, let's try again, let's try this instead.
That's
My dog barking in the back. I hope you can't hear.
Oh, you're totally fine. This podcast is used to dogs. Mine is sleeping right now, but you know, goes off all the time. So all the are used to the animal sounds.
And I call them my dragons. They're my dragons.
Yes, I think this group of listeners is full of animal lovers.
Yes.
Animal lovers, lots of music lovers too. So I do think that they are going to, you know, have a lot of fun when this album comes out.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
I'm so excited for you. When this comes out, like, do you just like stick with this and then you're performing these songs and you're promoting it, or are you already working on new things? How does that work in the music world?
I usually, when it comes to putting out albums, it's it's an interesting energy for me because it's almost like I can't move forward until this album is out. That's kind of how it's always been for me. I'm like in this world and in these songs until it is out. And then once it's out and kind of going and doing it, whatever it's supposed to do, it's kind of, I don't have much control over that either. Right. So like, it's there, here it is,
You release the energy
oh,
into the universe.
yeah, the energy is released. And then usually I'll have like a rest period. And then all of a sudden things start coming to me. And even when I'm like, I don't know, am I ever going to write another album? That's always what I say. Am I ever going to write another album? And then all of a sudden it's like, here's some songs, like the songs or like the one line will come to me at the most inconvenient times.
It's the lunar cycle all over again. You sit it out, we rest, and then we start anew.
Yep.
Something different, comes to you, and the universe just tickles your brain. It's like, you're not done yet. Next.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't know where am I going to be internally, emotionally,
right,
when the next album's ready to start working on.
So it's just a fascinating process to me. And I think a lot of us go through that, where we have something that's just like this buildup of energy, and then we release it to the world, like whether that, is music or art in another way, or just like a personal project, even just getting it out in a journal. And then we're finally ready for that next thing. That cyclical nature just, makes me happy. There's always like a new start to be able to happen.
Yeah, it's like nothing is permanent.
Which is both like, a happy thought and maybe a little nihilism in there someplace.
Yeah.
Nothing's permanent. Nothing matters.
Well, no, not that nothing matters, but nothing's permanent. So, if it's good right now, enjoy it. And if it's bad, hold on, because it's going to get better. Nothing stays the same. A feeling, a situation. And when it's time for it to change, like I have that, I know, right? We know, and it kind of will happen for us.
Better things are coming, even if it's difficult.
Even if it's difficult. And I've had some like heavy moments that feel like there's no way out, and all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, sun's out, feeling good.
That is a fantastic note to end on, such a positive for going into the future. I want to thank you so much for being here today and having such like a fun, happy chat. I learned so much about the music industry, but I also learned so much about being able to use music, other people's music and words, like within my own practice, is just one of my favorite things. And I am very excited for you for
thank you.
Album coming out. I'm very excited for the listeners to be able to get their hands on something that's got like a little bit of a witchy vibe to it and follows that like cyclical nature. It's just going to be a fantastic album.
Yes, I can't wait to hear how everybody likes it. I can't wait to hear from them. So
that's fantastic. Listeners,
messages on socials.
Yes. Listeners, I'll have everything linked below so you can find Ghost of Me. And if you want to connect and share all your opinions,
Yes, I would love it.
Fantastic. I will have everything linked below so you can find all the socials and websites and things that we talked about. That will be in the show notes, as always, over at witchwednesdays.com. And I want to just thank you so much for being here today and for opening up and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. It was a lot of fun.
Listeners, that's everything that I have for you this week. I will see you all next week.
Need even more witchcraft in your life? Subscribe to Witch Wednesdays on Patreon and YouTube for all types of exclusive bonus content like spells, recipes, book reviews, and more, or even order personalized tarot readings and spells. Be sure to follow on Instagram at Witch Wednesdays Podcast. And you can find all these links and more at witchwednesdays.com.